You know, there's a crime that operates completely in the shadows, but it touches just about every corner of the globe. It's a massive industry built entirely on the exploitation of human lives. So today, let's bring it into the light.
Right off the bat, we need to be crystal clear about something. Human trafficking isn't just another crime. As the United Nations puts it, it's a grave violation of fundamental human rights. It literally strips people of their dignity and their freedom.
And it is incredibly profitable. I mean, how profitable are we talking? Get this. It's a $32 billion global industry. That staggering amount of illicit profit, well, that's the engine driving this entire criminal enterprise, and it's all built on human suffering. This right here completely demolishes the myth that this is some faraway problem that doesn't affect us. The reality is, whether a country is a source of victims, a transit point, or a final destination, pretty much no nation is untouched by this crisis. So we hear the term human trafficking thrown around a lot, but what does it actually legally mean? Let's take a minute and really break down the official definition so we're all on the same page. You've probably heard a few different phrases, right? Human trafficking, trafficking in persons, even modern slavery. It's best to think of them as big umbrella terms that basically cover two core ideas: sex trafficking and forced or compelled labor. But what are the specific components? What's the recipe that turns an act of exploitation into the legal crime of trafficking? Let's look at the essential ingredients. Okay, so the international legal standard, which was set by the UN, has three core parts. First, you've got the act. That's the recruiting, transporting, or harboring of a person. Second, there's the means. This is how it's done, through threats, force, coercion, or fraud. And third, you have the purpose, which is always exploitation. For a crime to legally be called trafficking, you have to have all three of those elements. And here's something that's so important to understand because it busts a huge myth. Trafficking does not require crossing a border. It doesn't even require any movement at all. A person can be trafficked in their very own house, their own neighborhood, their own city. All right, now that we've got the legal definition down, let's explore what this actually looks like in the real world. And trust me, it's way more diverse and complicated than what you might see in the movies. The two main categories you'll hear about are sex trafficking and labor trafficking. The first is when someone is forced, tricked, or coerced into commercial sex. The second is when someone is compelled to work or provide services under those same terrible conditions, often for little or no pay. But the forms this exploitation takes are, well, they're horrifyingly vast. As you can see here, we're talking about everything from forcing children to beg, to selling children, to forced marriage, and even the removal and theft of organs. It's just a huge range of abuses. And while it's so important to remember that men and boys are absolutely victims, the data shows a really stark reality. Globally, women and girls are disproportionately targeted. They make up a staggering 70% of all trafficking victims. So how does this even happen? I mean, how do traffickers get that much control over another person? Well, it's often not about brute force, but about a slow, insidious process of psychological manipulation. And the victims, they're often hidden right in front of us, in places we go all the time. We're talking about victims of labor trafficking found working in agricultural fields, in restaurants, in nail and hair salons, in hotels, places many of us might visit every single day. The tactics traffickers use are deeply personal and, frankly, predatory. They find a vulnerability and they exploit it. So if a person is feeling lonely and unloved, the trafficker swoops in and pretends to be the perfect, caring partner. Or let's say someone feels totally isolated with no support system. The trafficker steps in to be that protector, that provider. They become the family figure. See, they sell a dream that slowly turns into an absolute nightmare. They build trust before they enslave. And, of course, in our digital age, the internet has become an incredibly powerful tool for traffickers. It gives them this cloak of anonymity, letting them find, groom, and communicate with vulnerable people, especially young people, on websites, message boards, and social media. Now, with a problem this massive and widespread, the response has to be just as big. It has to be global. So let's take a look at the international framework that's been built to fight back against this crime. The modern fight really gained serious momentum back in the year 2000 with a major UN convention. This paved the way for what's known as the Trafficking in Persons Protocol in 2003. And that was a huge deal. a landmark achievement that gave the entire world its first single, legally binding definition of this crime. And this wasn't just symbolic. Countries that sign on make 3 really concrete commitments. 1, make trafficking a serious crime in their own laws. 2, protect and assist victims. And 3, cooperate across borders to hunt down and prosecute traffickers. In practice, that means things like joint police investigations or sharing intelligence to dismantle these criminal networks.
That all sounds pretty good on paper, right? We've got a unified global plan, a clear definition, and a commitment to act. But after 2 decades, the million-dollar question is it actually working?
And this is the sobering reality. The UN Office on Drugs and Crime says that even though most countries have officially outlawed trafficking, the results are lagging way behind. Very few criminals are ever actually convicted. And most victims, well, they're likely never even identified at all. And that leaves us with a really critical question. With all the laws in place, what is it going to take to finally close that huge gap between promise and reality?